So, is Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty any good? I've played it, this video would be kinda useless if I hadn't, and there are a few things you really need to know going into this new expansion and the new 2.0 update. This review will be spoiler free, and of course thanks to CDPR for sending a code my way last week. Now, bugs, main story, side quests, gameplay changes. That's what we're covering in that order and quickly, so you know what you need to fast, and there's a lot of good news plus a little bad. I'm starting with bugs because that's still the reputation Cyberpunk has had a hard time shaking. Even though the game has been in pretty solid shape for some time, people still think bugs when they think Cyberpunk. So the question now is whether Phantom Liberty is a polished day one experience, or if you'd be better off waiting for a few patches to smooth things out. Well, CDPR obviously wanted to squash any bug talk as hard as humanly possible, because there are hardly any. I had one possessed cop who levitated away from Night City into the great beyond, and also there was a character that had her phone filter voice on half the time even when speaking in person, which was actually kind of annoying, but that was about it in what is a pretty long expansion. Speaking of how long this thing is, a lot of that time will of course be spent with the main quest, the centerpiece of Phantom Liberty, and the main reason you'd decide to buy it, or not, and let's talk about it. By the way, the gameplay you're seeing isn't what I recorded, I can't show that yet, only my own screenshots plus what I've been sent by CDPR, but I'm telling you, there is nothing to hide performance-wise, at least not on a solid PC. Cyberpunk just runs beautifully these days, and on the same settings I was using before, I noticed zero difference in terms of my in-game experience on the last patch and now the new 2.0 update. Anyway, the main quest is what you really need to hear about, and while I do have some mixed thoughts on the side content, I just have to say that Phantom Liberty's main story is maybe the best thing Cyberpunk 2077 has to offer, period. If it's not at the very top, it's really close. Listen, if you've been on board with what CDPR have been selling in the trailers, you know, a spy thriller with a really high stakes, then you are getting exactly that with Phantom Liberty, done very well. And for a story like this, the characters needed to be great, and thankfully there isn't a single miss in the main quest line. At its core, Phantom Liberty is a character-driven slow burn with bursts of absolute insanity. It really takes its time when it needs to, yet every single moment where things ramp up, the boundaries are pushed a little further and then a little further, until you start to wonder if there's really anywhere left to go. And as it continually turns out, the answer is always yes. A couple other non-spoiler thoughts before the side content, because I just don't want to say too much about the main story, do not let anyone spoil it for you. But it is worth pointing out that Idris Elba is a serious standout. Do not worry for even a second, his character couldn't possibly be further from just awkwardly shoving a celebrity in a game. He is great, he's there a lot, and he's very fleshed out. And I was also really pleasantly surprised by how much Johnny is in Phantom Liberty. In both the main and side content, he pops up almost as frequently as he did in the base game, which is impressive because, as I mentioned, this is a pretty long expansion. I have done all main and side content, and between everything, I ended up getting a little over 30 hours worth of playtime. I'd say right around half of that is main quest material, and the rest of your time will be spent with the new gigs and other side content, most of which take place in the new Night City district this expansion adds, Dogtown. Now, you'll be happy to hear that one weakness pre-Phantom Liberty side content had is completely wiped out with the expansion content. In the base game, I felt that the gigs, which are the little mercenary contracts you take on, were all over the place in terms of quality. Some of them were really fleshed out with characters to talk to, interesting decisions to be made, and just a lot going for them. Some of the others, though, had nothing going on. I mean, 1 in every 3 would have a setup along the lines of, "Hey V, something interesting already happened at this location and you completely missed it. Need you to go there and retrieve item." And that was it. You'd spend more time getting to the gig marker on your map than it would take you to do the entire thing. Phantom Liberty, thankfully, has none of that. There are 10 new gigs, and you can really sink your teeth into each and every one. I mean, I was going through my footage, and most of them are 20 to 30 minutes each. And one thing I really liked, and I think you will too, was that this expansion constantly goes out of its way to follow up on the choices you make during the side content. And I don't just mean a throwaway text on V's phone. No, there were a few times where days later in-game, I was getting a solid bit of extra content that just wouldn't have happened had I handled a gig differently, which really makes me want to go back and try the other outcomes. I think I'll get another 5 hours out of this expansion doing just that. On the whole, the Phantom Liberty gigs are really good. I didn't think all of them were home runs or anything, a few were forgettable, but I'd say half of a top 10 gigs list would be filled with Phantom Liberty content, as the better ones are the best you'll find in the entire game. As for the other side quests, meaning the random jobs you can come across, well, there's not many significant ones to be honest, just a handful. A couple were pretty good, one not so much, and also there was this quest that was just so damn stupid, it was amazing. I won't spoil any of it, but it's a very unserious job, at least compared to everything else you get mixed up with, and during that quest you get so much commentary from Johnny. He refuses to shut up and needs you to know his thoughts on this very dumb situation you found yourself in the middle of. Oh, also, I do have a quick side content warning for you, just so you don't make the same mistake I did. If you are buying Phantom Liberty and plan to start from one of your old saves where you've already done everything, which was my situation, do not blow through all of the new side content right when it becomes available. Some of it, sure, go ahead, you're meant to, but there will be multiple moments where you'll need something to do in between main quest activities, and where skipping time doesn't seem to count, unless that was a bug, I don't think so though, and in those moments, two in particular I'm thinking of, it would have been really nice if I had any side quests left. I didn't though, so it was kind of awkward waiting it out, and I had to fill that time with the new endless car missions. So, Phantom Liberty, not the 2.0 update, adds new dynamic content all around Night City. These come in two main forms, one being random combat encounters where you steal some cargo. I believe those ones are limited to Dogtown, but the other type are mini gigs where you steal a vehicle and deliver it for one of the base game fixers. The vehicle missions pop up everywhere all across the city, and I plan to say that I really disliked these, but I've now just found out that I'm either the unluckiest person on planet Earth, or I potentially ran into a bug, I don't really know, so I'm not going to call it a bug. So, according to the little brief I was sent about Phantom Liberty, there are supposed to be different types of vehicle missions that you cycle through. You know, one where you're chased and have to fight off or lose enemy AI, one where you need to beat a timer across the map, and one where some hacking is required to secure the vehicle in the first place. Me though, I did 7 of these random vehicle missions, and somehow I got the same one every single time, the chase variety. And with that in mind, I was just dreading doing these after a certain point because they got so repetitive, which obviously wouldn't have been a problem had I not ended up with the same type 7 times in a row. You might ask why I kept doing them if I dreaded the experience, and the answer, besides just needing to fill some time, is that these aren't as optional as you might think. Phantom Liberty has changed the way you acquire new vehicles. Instead of needing to go to a car's physical location to buy it in person, you instead just have sales terminals around Night City. There, you just select the car you want to buy on a screen, and then it's added to your inventory, at which point you can call it to your location. I assume, I don't know for sure, but I assume those terminals are available even without Phantom Liberty post 2.0, because the base game cars are also for sale there. The new vehicles from the expansion though, or at least the cool ones, are going to be locked from purchase when you start the expansion. How do you earn the privilege of being able to buy them? Well, by doing those randomly generated car missions, and you'll have to do quite a few, because after doing 7, most of the cars I wanted to buy were still locked. That's just something to keep in mind, because in my case, I'd gone through a third of the expansion wondering where all the new cars were before I finally realized what it was I was supposed to do. It's also worth pointing out that you do earn a huge discount from the car missions, as every time you complete one, you build up a coupon to use on whatever car you want. I say build up because you get one discount at a time, which keeps improving as you deliver more stolen vehicles. And once you use that discount, it resets to 0% and you can start building it up again. On the topic of building something up, why don't we switch over to the free 2.0 update, which is the culmination of everything CDPR have been working towards since Cyberpunk's launch, which some might say was less than ideal. For over 2 years now, this game has been getting patch after patch working out bugs, but gameplay-wise, Cyberpunk has changed very, very little from launch. That is, until now. Almost all gameplay changes are completely free with patch 2.0, with the exception of a couple small things like the level cap being raised to account for the expansion, and also there's something story-related I won't talk about to be safe, but just about everything else costs nothing. You can go download this on the 21st, I believe. Now, I said this over on Twitter, and I'm repeating it here because it sums it up, but when trying out patch 2.0, and by extension Phantom Liberty if you're buying it, I am telling you that you will never, not even for a moment, wonder what it was CDPR have been doing the past couple of years. The proof is absolutely everywhere, it's impossible to miss, and if you've been following what CDPR have been promising from this update, well, you won't be disappointed because they absolutely deliver. I think CDPR have been very careful with what they've hyped up for patch 2.0 because they didn't want another launch situation, So what's been promised is exactly what you get, and none of it's half-baked. They've taken their time here. The police are far more aggressive with escalating tactics, combat AI is notably improved, which was much needed, fighting from a vehicle is no longer a barely functioning mess, you can even quick hack enemy vehicles now, and man have they refined, improved, and streamlined almost every system related to improving your build. And not just in subtle quality of life ways, it's all been torn down to nothing and redone. The skill tree has been dramatically bettered, everything is sensibly organized now, and you can build way further into whatever you want to specialize in, because there are tons of new ways to play with dozens of newly introduced perks. And I don't mean a dozen, there are a ton. Throughout my 30+ hours with Phantom Liberty and this update, I was just cross-eyed because every 18 seconds I was wanting to try a different build that just wasn't possible pre-2.0, and swapping playstyles is something this update makes incredibly easy. All of your skill points are fully refundable with zero drawback. Just click one button to unlearn a skill you don't want anymore and reinvest it wherever you want. They've also taken mechanics that never should have been connected to skill trees and made them available by default. Most importantly, crafting. You don't have to throw away a ton of your hard-earned skill points for the privilege of crafting anymore, that system is just available to you. Armor is also no longer tied to random pieces of clothing. Instead, it's just built into your cyberware, which makes so much more sense, and again, it streamlines things. Related to cyberware, and this one is huge, you no longer have to bumble all around Night City checking every single cyberware slot at every single Ripper dock to find the best equipment. Nope, all of them have everything, so you know what your options are instead of the guessing game that was in place before. Also, when you install new cyberware, you actually have to undergo surgery. You get a little post-op animation, which is a nice new touch of immersion. All of these reworks and additions just serve to really make the gameplay feel like it's much closer to living up to what a setting like Night City should offer a person, where the options would be near limitless. Really, the combat and related changes are the main highlights of 2.0, and I'll be doing a few more in-depth videos in a few days, so feel free to subscribe if you'd like to see those. Overall, 2.0 is a fantastic update. It takes a game that's been out for a couple of years now, almost 3 actually, with its fair share of problems, and refines it into a significantly better version of itself. I want to stress that last part though. This is a refined version of the game we've had for over 2.5 years. If you go into 2.0 expecting a brand new game, or for this update to transform the experience into whatever launch expectation that the trailers from half a decade ago might have given you, then this isn't that, not at all, you'll be disappointed. And one thing this update doesn't do is change the interactability of the open world. That remains more or less how it's always been. The best way I can put it is that 2.0 makes this game feel like an alternate reality version of Cyberpunk. A reality where instead of releasing what they had in December 2020, they instead looked at it, delayed the release for some time, and focused entirely on shining up the game they'd already made, with the added bonus of addressing some systems and mechanics that were messy or half-baked and could reasonably be fixed. I'm not saying any of this as a negative, by the way, which I assume is obvious, but what I am saying is that if you see a pre-release video or article that says, "Oh, this is basically a completely new game," or "Update 2.0 makes Cyberpunk unrecognizable to what we had before," well, no, just no. Saying things like that is just asking for people's expectations to far exceed what CDPR have promised this update to be. Ultimately, this is still the same game, just a bit better. Cyberpunk was pretty good before this patch anyway, though it did have some rough spots, and what 2.0 does is address not all, but much of what needed it most. Add Phantom Liberty into the mix, and this is a damn good week for Cyberpunk fans. Well, that's all for today. If you enjoyed this review, consider leaving a like, as that's how YouTube decides what's worthy, and I will see you in what comes next, which should be a few more Phantom Liberty videos. Thanks to the channel's patrons, as always, for their support, and that's all. See ya.